Hey everyone, and it's the Funky Play Brothers, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. And today I'm reading Bobby Dot's Conclusion, Part 2 of a 3-part reading. We last left off where Abe found out that the Gen 1s were real, and he was fatally wounded, wrapping all of his wounds. He was spent when he finally finished wrapping all of his wounds. How much more of this could he take? Oddly, as hard as it had been dealing with Abe's many wounds, wasn't as challenging as answering his co-workers' questions. And when he went to work looking like a mummy, he couldn't blame anyone for commenting on his appearance. His arms and hands and neck were wrapped in gauze, and he had bandages all over his face. Even so, he was already tired of hearing what happened to you. Walked into a glass door at a friend's house. When his friend rode and labeled Abe an idiot for what smooth move, Abe couldn't argue. He was an idiot. He hacked himself into a lethal apartment, and he was stuck there. Abe managed to get through his morning by remaining very still at his desk. Just before lunch, though, he had to take care of an issue in Monty's Gator Golf. Everyone else on the team was dealing with other pressing problems. Monty's Gator Golf was packed when he reached it. Kids ranging from toddlers to teens filled the jungle-like area, darting and yelling and giggling. The whole of Gator Golf was neon green and decorated with palm trees and ponds. A holographic Montgomery Gator moved through the course during his performance, and his countenance was prominently displayed on much of the decor. The Gator Golf area wasn't just an 18-hole miniature golf course. It was also a play area. They had a golf ball-themed carousel in addition to a ball pit and a catwalk. Of course, dazzling light was everything. Most of the golf course's holes were either jungle or gator inspired, but the 5th hole featured a rotating birthday cake and dripped with fox chocolate frosting. The ball was supposed to be hit through a gap in the cake when it rotated to just the right point in its revolution. According to Abe's work order, the cake wasn't turning. Abe grimaced at when a couple of kids bumped into him and stepped onto a path that wound through the golf course. Beneath, in the smells of sugary candy, spicy pizza, and kid sweat, Abe navigated through the course until he reached the cake. There he chased a little girl who was ponding on the cake with her golf club. "Stop that," Abe told the curly-haired rascal. The girl put her hands on her hips and glanced at Abe. Her green eyes flashed as she rubbed at an untilted nose. "It's broken." "Yeah, well, ponding on it isn't going to fix it. And that's what my daddy does onto his computer when it doesn't work." "Please go stand over there," Abe said with extreme patience. "I'll fix this in no time." The girl smacked her lips and gave Abe a dirty look, but she did as he asked. Abe clenched his teeth as he slowly kneeled near the fake cape. My grandma moves faster than you," the girl said. "Good for him." Abe tried to ignore the jabs of pain in his arms as he opened his toolbox. "How come you look like a mummy?" the girl asked. "How do you know I'm not a mummy?" Abe asked as he poked the mechanism to troubleshoot the problem. "Mummies don't talk, they moan." Abe let out a long moan. The girl giggled. "You're funny." "Thank you. Now if you please give me a minute, I'll fix this." The girl lifted her golf club. "If you hit the cake again," Abe said, "I'll sick Montgomery Gator on you." The little girl stuck her tongue out at Abe, but she backed off. It took 15 minutes to fix the cake on the 5th hole, and Abe felt every second. He said goodbye to the little girl, adding another mummy mode that made her giggle again, and went to the auditorium to grab a slice of pizza. When he finished it, he looked at his watch. He still had half an hour of his lunch break left. He was hurting, and he probably should have returned to his desk. But whenever he sat alone, his mind replayed the horrors of the previous night. He relived being showered with glass shards over and over. So Abe decided to head for Rockstar Row. Maybe watching all the happy families enjoying themselves would make him feel better. Designed to give the pizzaplex visitors a breather between inhaling pizza and playing games, Rockstar Row was a museum-like area with celebrated Fazbear Entertainment animatronics filled with neon-wrapped display cases that showcased both old and new versions of the popular robots. The gallery also had golden statue of glam rock characters. The green rooms for each of the lead animatronics. Abe paused in front of Roxy's green room. He stared at the tires and race flags that decored the walls. The tires reminded him of his former hidey hole, which he was once again thinking of fondly. They're all kind of full of themselves, aren't they? A young woman voice asked. Abe blinked and turned to find a pretty brown-haired girl with almost impish face stand next to him. She flashed a very pretty smile and winked. Her eyes were a startling violet blue. Startling violet blue. Who are you? Abe asked. He looked around at all the kids and families, and one pointed at a life-size drawing of Roxy holding her guitar. The animatronics, they spewed confetti. Abe shifted his gaze from the woman to Roxy's image. I suppose they do. Is that a bad thing? Maybe, maybe not. I haven't decided. That's why I'm here. To decide whether or not the animatronics are too confident. The girl laughed. Her laugh was light and airy, like the flight of a butterfly. Abe liked the sound a lot. Not exactly, the girl said. No, Wait, why don't we start at the beginning? Abe stepped aside to avoid a couple of roughhousing boys. Although the crowds were thick around him, and the woman and the music and laughter were relentless. Abe felt like he'd stepped into a bubble. The woman seemed to push reality away from him. Even his pain diminished. What do you mean? Abe asked. The woman stuck out a small square hand with neatly trimmed, unpainted nails. I'm Sasha. Abe smiled and shook her hand. Even through the bandage gauze, he could feel it. It was soft, but the palm, it had a few calluses that suggested she didn't do a lot of sitting around doing nothing. I'm Abe. Sasha looked at the gauze encased Abe's hand, but she didn't comment on it. Nice to meet you. You too. With her hair cropped short and her face clean of makeup, Sasha struck Abe as a straightforward kind of woman. Want to stroll with me? She asked. Abe nodded and offered his gauze-wrapped arm. Sasha didn't balk. She gently took his arm, and they began walking through Rockstar Row. The crowd continued to press around them. Abe continued not to care about anyone but Sasha. I'm a social worker, Sasha said. I work with troubled kids. One of my coworkers wants to bring some of our kids here for an outing, and I'm not sure it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong, I love the Pizzaplex and all the things Fazbear. I'm a Freddy fangirl. I'm not ashamed to admit it, but when I started thinking about the animatronics and how they come across to kids with, issues, I wasn't sure this was the best place to bring them. Sasha looked at Abe's Pizzaplex uniform shirt. You work here? What do you think, honestly? Honestly? What would be the point of anything else? Abe smiled. Okay, well, I think the Pizzaplex is a great place for kids, to a point. The games are fun, the food's good, kids love it here. But if I was a dad, go on, I wouldn't leave my kids unattended, and I'd make very sure they didn't spend too much time with the animatronics. The robots are fun, but they're a little over the top, Sasha supplied. Abe nodded. He and Sasha zigged in perfect unison around the boreas trio of teen girls who weren't watching where they were going. What games do you like? Sasha asked. I'm partially too old-fashioned arcade games, Abe said. Sasha grinned. Let's go play. Abe looked at his watch. I have 20 minutes before I have to go back to work. We'll make the most of it. And they did. Abe and Sasha managed to pack in 2 games of skee ball and 3 games of pinball. The whole time they laughed and joked. Abe was smitten. Would you have dinner with me tonight? Abe blurted as they left the arcade. Sure. Not here, Abe said. Obviously not. Abe named a Chinese restaurant not far from the pizzaplex. I'll meet you there, Sasha said. 7? Abe nodded. Sasha disappeared into the crowd. The Golden Garden was a high-end Chinese restaurant, one Abe wouldn't have been able to afford before he got his promotion. The truth was he could barely afford it now, but he wanted to take Sasha someplace nice. The Golden Garden had dim, romantic lighting and plush, comfortable chairs. It was filled with the mouth-watering aromas of garlic and sesame oil. I've never been here, Sasha said when they were seated. What's good? Abe pointed out a few menu items, and they agreed on sharing vegetable egg rolls, hot and sour soup, mushu chicken, kung pei chicken, and vegetable fried rice. That's all perfect, Sasha said. I don't eat beef, neither do I anymore. Olive won't let me. Olive? Abe winced. Why had Abe said that? He decided to ignore the question. Why do you like the pizzaplex so much? He asked. Deflection, okay? I'll let you get away with it for now. Sasha gave Abe one of her delightful winks. Abe smiled. Thanks. No problem. I like the pizzaplex and the whole Fazbear franchise because of the juxtaposition of the fun and mystery. I've read all the lore about the old locations, scandals, the rumors. I'm a big mystery fan. Me too. Sasha beamed. I knew I liked you. Abe flushed. But I also love fun, Sasha went on. Fazbear Entertainment is a crazy mix of the two. The waiter brought their egg rolls for the next half hour. Abe and Sasha focused on their food and battered on about Freddy Fazbear. When the fortune cookies arrived, Sasha cracked hers open and read, Secret Poison, Good Relationships. She looked up. Uh-oh, you know what that means. Abe toyed with his own cookie. He didn't like fortune cookies. What? We need to circle back to what you said about Olive. Sorry, I can't let you off the hook any longer. And he pushed aside the fortune cookie. He looked at his hands. You haven't asked me why I'm all bandaged up, he said. I figured you'd tell me if you wanted to. Abe hesitated. Then he blurted, I live in the Fazbear Tower. Olive is one of the holographic helpers in my apartment. Sasha leaned forward. Her eyes sparkled. Really? I've heard stories about the high-tech stuff in those apartments. Oh, you have to invite me to your place. I have to? If you don't, I'll scream. Abe widened his eyes and Sasha laughed. Not really. Or, yeah, maybe. Screaming works for my kids sometimes. She laughed again. No, I won't scream. But I'd really love to see your place. Abe tried to imagine Sasha in his apartment. What would she think of the bobbiedots? What would they think of her? Well, he thought about the shattered TV and the coffee table in his living room. Having Sasha over would be a very bad idea. Sasha pressed her hands together, tilted her head, and battered her eyelashes. Pretty please. She grinned at him. Okay, Abe said. For date 2, I'll make you dinner. Awesome. Sasha clapped her hands. Abe immediately regretted what he'd done, but then again, he didn't. He grinned. He was ridiculously happy, and he was very, very worried. How was he going to keep Sasha safe when she came over? A few days later, Abe walked into his kitchen carrying supplies he'd borrowed from the pizzaplex maintenance department. He looked up at the trap door in the ceiling. Then he set his tools on the kitchen table. He dragged the table across the floor and positioned it under the trap door. The nearest screen lit up and the bobbiedots popped up into view. "Are we rearranging furniture?" Rose asked. "Putting the table closer to the refrigerator is a great idea." Abe smiled as he climbed onto the table. "Sorry, Rose. This isn't where I'm going to leave. This is where I'm going to leave the table." He picked up his tools, and stood. "Is something broken?" Olive asked. "I can provide instructions for repair." Abe shook his head. "Thanks, but I've got this." Abe kept his voice light. He wasn't feeling relaxed. He didn't like being this close to the trap door. Abe felt his heartbeat pick up now that they were watching, and pulled out a new heavy-duty lock hasp from his pocket. He positioned it on the ceiling and marked the spots for his screws. "The trapdoor already has a lock," Olive pointed out. "One that the Gen 1s can unlock, obviously," Abe said. "They don't have the key for this one." He quickly drilled the necessary holes for the hasp, and he installed it. Once he'd done that, he fitted the padlock through the sturdy hasp. I let Abe climb down from the table and gathered up his tools. He looked from the trapdoor to the bobbiedots. "What do you think? Will that keep the Gen 1s contained?" "It looks like a very strong lock," Gemini said. "That's a very smart thing to do," Olive said. "Now that you've done that, we can have a special dinner for your can we have special dinner for your girlfriend?" Rose said. "What are you fixing? Something yummy, I hope." Abe smiled. He rolled his shoulders to let go of the tension. He'd Abe rolled his shoulders to let go of the tension he'd been holding there. "Yes," he said. "I'll make something yummy." Abe returned the table and chairs to their usual position and gathered up his tools. "I'll start cooking in a bit," he told Rose. "First, I need to clean the place up." Thankfully, that morning, Abe had been able to with his mummy look. His cuts, dispense with his mummy look. His cuts, although still red and scabby, were healing well. He wasn't nearly as sore. That made the work he had ahead of him easier to manage. Over the next hour, Abe removed all the debris from his apartment. He wasn't able to replace the broken table and TV, but the sitting area didn't look bare without them. Everything else he was able to clean up easily. "Now are you going to make dinner?" Rose asked, as soon as Abe put away the vacuum cleaner. Abe grinned. "Yes, now." Abe had decided to make Alfredo with shrimp. Rose was over the moon. "And Caesar salad?" she asked. "You have to make Caesar salad with croutons." "Sure, I can do that," Abe agreed. "You must have flowers and candles," Gemini had said the previous evening when Abe had announced the upcoming date. "All romantic dinners require flowers and candles." Rose, rose or Roses are the most common romantic flower," Olive said. "I think I'm going with daisies," Abe had said. He'd already thought about it. Daisies were all he could afford, and he was pretty sure Sasha was more of a daisies girl than a rose girl. Daisies always set a fun and playful mood, Olive had said. According to the flower experts, daisies represent innocence, cheerfulness, and a new beginning. New beginnings. When you combine colors, they symbolize sincerity. Abe had nodded. "Good to know." And now Abe adjusted the multicolored daisies and simple white candles. He straightened the place settings. Everything was just right. He looked around the kitchen. The kitchen appeared to be safe, even this kitchen seemed to be safe enough. It would probably be okay while Sasha was here, as long as he was careful around the split stove, and avoided the garbage disposal, kept Sasha away from anything but the table. But what traps might the Gen 1s have set during the day before he locked the trapdoor? Abe shifted his gaze to the bobbiedots, who hovered on the nearby glass panels. Bobbiedots, I need your help. Music? Do you need music? Gemini asked. Actually, yes, maybe some slow pop music. A romantic ballad began playing from the speakers. Thanks, Abe said, but what I really need is for all three of you to help me keep Sasha safe. Of course we will, Olive said. I appreciate you, Abe said, grinning. His bobbiedots giggled. The appreciation issue had become an ongoing joke. Abe wiped his hands on his apron and gave the Alfredo sauce a stir. The sauce was smooth and had the right thickness. Its buttery, garlicky aroma filled the kitchen. The apartment's intercom buzzed. Abe adjusted his long-sleeved button-down shirt. One of the shirts Landon, the previous tenant, had left. Abe chose it so he could wouldn't scare Sasha with all of his healing cuts. Abe headed toward the door. When he opened it, he stared. Sasha looked amazing in a fitted short green dress. She brushed past Abe and turned to look at him. Are you expecting someone else? Sasha asked. Abe blinked at her. What? Sasha gestured at the apartment door, which Abe continued to hold open. Abe laughed nervously and let go of the door. It closed with a click. Are you okay? You're looking at me like I've grown horns. Did I? You never know. Anything's possible. Sasha batted at her head as if feeling for newly sprouted horns. Nope, no horns. Whiskers? She rubbed her hands over her clean pinkish cheeks. Nope. Whiskers free. Sasha winked at Abe. Abe gave her a weak grin. Sorry. It's the dress, isn't it? Sasha flushed and looked down at the clingy material that hugged her body like a second skin. Is it too much? I was going to wear jeans, but my friend Meg made me dress up. Abe shook his head several times. No, the dress is great. Really great, actually. Are you going to introduce us? Rose piped up. Sasha turned toward the sound and looked at the bobbiedots, who were clustered together on the glass panel. At the edge of the sitting area, Sasha smiled and clasped her hands together. Oh, hi, aren't you the three pretties? Rose giggled. Thanks. So are you. I'm Rose. This is Gemini and Olive. Rose gestured at her fellow bobbiedots in turn. Very nice to meet you, Sasha said. I'm Sasha. We know, Olive said. He's been talking about you a lot. Abe felt his face heat up. I need to check on the pasta. Abe strode toward the kitchen. Sasha followed him. So did the bobbiedots. This is a very nice place, Sasha said. So modern and open. Abe stepped up to the stove, careful not to put his arm over another burner. He tested the pasta. Almost done. He turned to watch Sasha. Sasha stepped into the kitchen, looking around, and then gazed past Abe toward the opening to the office. You're into minimalism, aren't you? Abe shrugged. Not really. This is how the place was when I moved in. I just haven't had a chance to do anything with it. If you want to redecorate, Olive said, I can research styles and colors to give you options. Sasha beamed to Olive. Oh, that's so cool. It must be wonderful to have a helper like you. And me, Rose said. And me, Gemini said. Of course, Sasha said. Why don't you tell me about yourselves? What is it you do for Abe? The bobbiedots began jabbering about their responsibilities. Sasha, attentive and complimentary, prepped them with questions and showered them with praise. Abe took the pasta pot off the stove and walked over to the sink to drain the water. He added the drained pasta to the shrimp and Alfredo sauce. Rose winked into view on the glass panel near the kitchen counter. Oh, that looks delicious, she said. But are you sure you made enough for all of us? Sasha looked at Rose, her brows furrowed in puzzlement. Olive must have noticed the expression because she said, "Don't mind Rose. She has food delusions. She's convinced she can eat." Sasha smiled at Rose. "Well then, you have to join us for dinner." "No, she doesn't," Gemini said. "This is Abe's first romantic dinner. It's supposed to be for the two of you, not for us." But, Rose began. "Hush," Olive said. "We'll be back later." Gemini and Olive disappeared from the glass screens. When Rose remained, Olive winked back into view, grabbed Rose's arm, and yanked her off the screen. The screens went dark. Sasha looked at Abe and grinned. "They're delightful," Abe nodded. "Yeah, they're pretty fun." Abe gestured at a table. "Have a seat." Sasha pulled out one of the padded, straight-backed gray chairs. "This all looks lovely. Oh, daisies. I love daisies. How did you know?" Abe shrugged. "Good guess." Abe set plates and fettuccine and salad in front of Sasha. She waited for Abe to sit down, and then she picked up her fork and twirled pasta around its tines. She put the pasta in her mouth and chewed. This is amazing. You made the sauce?" "Yeah," Abe said. "Wow. Cute, funny, and he cooks? A triple threat." Sasha laughed and dug into her salad. Abe flushed. He took a bite of pasta. "I guess I should tell you I can't cook," Sasha said. Not worth the darn. I can't even boil water. The last time I tried, I forgot the water was on and the water boiled away and left me with a ruined pot." Abe laughed. "Well, don't get too excited about me cooking. My mom taught me to make 3 things: fettuccine alfredo, spaghetti marinara, and tacos. Otherwise, I'm all about the sandwich. I can't even make sandwiches. They end up being either too dry or too squishy." Abe laughed. I bet you make the best squishy sandwiches in the world." Sasha smiled. "Where's your mom? Does she live nearby?" Abe frowned. "I wish she did. She's staying in a care center. She has dementia." Sasha reached out and touched the back of Abe's hand. "I'm sorry." What about your folks?" "My parents are dead. If they were alive, I'd want them close too." "I understand." They continued to eat and chat. Abe was happy with how easy it was to be with Sasha. He thought the dinner was going well, and the whole evening went well too. After they ate, they hung out on the sofa and talked. Before Sasha left, Abe leaned in and kissed her. She kissed him back. It was the best kiss of his life. Abe couldn't wait to write to his mom. As soon as Sasha left, he opened his laptop. He started typing immediately. "Hi, Mom. Guess what? I met someone. Her name is Sasha. She's smart and fun and pretty. I can't wait for you to meet her." Abe filled several paragraphs telling his mom about his time with Sasha. By the time he closed his laptop, he couldn't stop smiling. Even thoughts of the Gen 1s couldn't dampen his good mood. Although he had no idea what to do about what about them, he figured that if he stayed in his locked room, he'd be okay for now. And he wasn't too content at the moment to worry about more about it. Abe settled under the covers, and in spite of knowing robots lurked nearby, and in spite of the pain of his cuts, he quickly fell into a deep sleep. Gobble, gobble, gobble. And gobble, gobble, gobble. Sasha shouted, doing a little victory dance at the foil line at the pin setter under the neon pizza above the end of their lane. Set 10 pins into place. The pins quivered a little before they settled, probably afraid that Sasha was going to wipe them out again with her spinning ball. They didn't have to worry. It was Abe's turn, and his ball sadly wasn't as dangerous. Abe grinned as he stood to give Sasha a fist bump. "So this is your hidden dark side, gloating when you're wiping out your opponents." "I have to warn you," Sasha had said. as they'd taken their seats behind the scoring screen on lane 3 in Bonnie Bowl. I'm kind of obsessed about bowling. I'm pretty good at it, and I can get a little competitive about it. No problem, Abe had said, I'm not very good, so you can wipe the lane with me, and I won't get upset. Sasha laughed. Okay, 1 lane wiping coming up. It was late, and Bonnie Bowl was rocking. Most of the 22 lanes were being used, and the lanes at the ice cream and drink counter were long. Kids chased one another up and down the white neon lit stairs that separated the snack and service area from the lanes themselves. They also ran up and down along neon stair-covered end walls that flanked the lanes. The whole bowling alley was such a bedlam that Abe couldn't imagine how anyone could concentrate enough to bowl well. Sasha, however, was managing just fine. The overhead scoring screen was still flashing turkey as Sasha gobbled and danced her way back to the ball return. A couple of teen girls in the next lane were giving Sasha dirty looks for her excessive celebration, but Sasha's self-congratulation didn't bother Abe at all. He thought it was cute. He especially liked the little hip wiggle in Sasha's victory dance. When Sasha was done dancing around, Abe stepped up to the lane and threw a relatively accurate ball. He knocked down 8 pins. Way to go, Sasha called out from her seat at the scoring table. Now get the spare. Now get that spare piece of cake. Now get that spare piece of cake, Abe said sarcastically. He figured he had about as much chance as the spare he did in extricately himself from his ongoing apartment predicament. Abe retrieved his ball and threw it again. The ball wobbled a little, hugged the edge of the gutter, then made a miraculous curve back toward the 6 and 10 pins. The pins fell down. Abe whooped. Nice spare, Sasha shouted, jumping up from her chair. When Abe got back to her, she gave him a quick kiss. The kiss made Abe even happier than the spare had done. After Sasha finished annihilating Abe, she asked want to bowl another lane. Abe shook his head. How about saving that for another night? There's something I'd like to talk to you about. Can we go for a walk? Uh-oh, you sound serious. Sasha grinned and gave Abe a little nudge. Do I need to be worried? Abe twisted his mouth. Was he doing the right thing? He shrugged. I think it's time I told you how I got all the cuts. Sasha's grin faded. Okay. Abe didn't want to talk about his troubles inside the pizzaplex. There were too many years. He suggested he and Sasha walk to a nearby park. The evening was cool, but clear, and Sasha said a walk beneath the stars sounded romantic. By the time Abe and Sasha reached an isolated bench near a pond, Sasha probably had changed her mind about the romance. Abe had just finished giving her a detailed description of everything that had happened in the apartment. After telling her about the divisive way he'd gotten in the first place and why he'd been so desperate to get in, now they sat in silence. Sasha hadn't spoken since Abe had started telling his story, but she'd listened intently. She was still holding his hand. That was a good sign, wasn't it? But after a full minute of listening to peripheral and littered crickets, Abe couldn't take it anymore. He cleared his throat. You think I'm making it up, don't you? Sasha squeezed his hand. Not at all. She shifted so she could look directly at him. I totally believe you. Abe exhaled loudly. That's relief. I was afraid you'd think I was crazy. Any normal person would. I'm not a normal girl, Sasha said. Abe smiled at her. I think I love you. Sasha laughed. Think that's a conversation for another time. Right now we need to figure out what's really going on here. She cocked her head. Are you sure the Gen 1s aren't trying to kill you? Abe jerked away from her. What kind of question was that? He motioned to his healing cuts. How else do you explain this? Sasha bit her lower lip. Well, they could just be acting out. Maybe they don't really mean to hurt you. It could be they're just out of control, and that what's been happening to you is the fallout. I don't get it. Another couple strolled into view. Sasha watched them go past, and she scooted closer to Abe and spoke in low tones. Listen, the kids I work with, they've been through so much trauma that it messes with their heads. They act out. It's normal with kids who have been mistreated. They have so much pain inside that they need to let it out. Somehow, they usually let it out in total inappropriate ways. Sometimes they break things, steal things, and hurt their caregivers. They're not bad kids. They've just had really, really bad luck, and they don't know how to deal with it. So they get in trouble. What I'm thinking is that the Gen 1s might be doing something similar. Abe thought back over all the ways he'd been injured. Could what Sasha be saying be true? If I were you, Sasha said, I'd want to find out more about the previous tenant. Landon Prout? Yeah, Landon. Who was he? Did he do something to the Gen 1s? If the reason they're so badly damaged, if he is he the reason they're so badly damaged? If so, it might explain their behavior. Abe thought about that. He had to admit he had wondered why the Gen 1s were in such bad shape, why the Gen 1s were in such bad shape. Was Landon Prout responsible for what had happened to them? He wasn't sure he believed Sasha's theory, but she had a point about Landon. Maybe knowing more about his predecessors was a good idea. I'm pretty sure I have the Gen 1s contained, Abe said, but it would be nice to know more. I'll do some digging. Sasha laid her head against his shoulder. Good. Until then, be really careful. Huh. I don't know about the whole love thing yet, but I'm getting rather fond of you. If for some reason your padlock fails, I'd hate to see you sliced and diced and barbecued before we could see where this can go. Abe smiled. When he felt Sasha shake in silent laughter, he kissed the top of her head. I'll do my best to stay in one piece. It wasn't difficult to hack into the pizzaplex employee database. Abe got to his desk early the next day so he could do it before anyone else came in. Within minutes, he was looking at Landon's personal file, and Landon's file was very interesting. His file was thick and physiological reports. Landon apparently was being treated for paranoia resulting from his work at the pizzaplex. Landon exhibited the classic signs of delusion, paranoid disorder. A report stated Landon feels persecuted by nearly everyone and everything in the pizzaplex, and he believes in outlandish conspiracy theories related to Fazbear Entertainment. Landon's delusion is related directly to the animatronics, which he believes are stalking him and want to kill him. Abe looked up from his screen and glanced around to be sure he was still alone. Was the poor guy really delusional, or was he actually being stalked? After what Abe had been through, he had more sympathy for Landon than judgment. Abe scrolled through the rest of Landon's files, but he didn't learn anything else. There was no record of Landon returning to work after his leave of absence, and no record of him being hospitalized. Abe clicked through the files until he returned to Landon's contact info. There was a phone number. Abe picked up his phone and put it down. He picked it up. He punched the number. A woman who sounded half asleep. Abe looked at the clock and saw it was before 7:30 a.m. Oops. He answered with a wah. I'm really sorry to be calling so early, but I'm trying to reach Landon. The woman sucked in her breath. Then she started to cry. Is this a joke? What? No, not at all. Landon's gone. The phone clicked in Abe's ear. Hello? A dial tone answered. Abe put down his phone. What did Landon's gone mean? Gone wasn't moved as in moved away. Gone as in missing. Gone as in dead. Abe leaned back and looked out the window. Shaking his head, he returned to his desk and opened his email. He pulled his keyboard forward and began typing. Hi, Mom. How are you feeling today? I'm doing okay. I have a little mystery on my hands. Remember how we used to watch mystery movies together? I'm going to have to put my thinking cap on to solve this one. I love you, Abe. Abe leaned back on on Abe leaned back on Sasha's bright blue, cushioned sofa. Unlike Abe's place, Sasha's space was filled with color. Red balls, a wood floor pan painted with red, blue, and purple stripes, red and purple polka dotted drapes, the bright blue sofa and matching chairs, an eye-catching array of vivid modern art and dramatic photographs that Sasha had taken, in an electric mix of knickknacks and trinkets in all shapes and sizes, filled the apartment with characters and pizzazz, whereas Abe's place looked like it was staged for a magazine layout. Sasha's place looked lived in. Abe liked it. I did some more digging just before I came over here, Abe said to Sasha, dished up the fish and chips she'd gotten from a food truck near her building. But I didn't find anything else. Sasha brought him a plate of fried food. He took it. The tangy scent of the lemon tucked against his battered cod tickled his nostrils. Sasha sat down on the sofa next to Abe. So we don't know whether Landon was paranoid because the animatronics really were out to get him, or whether he was paranoid because he thought they were. Either way, if he lived in an apartment with robots, it's highly likely he might have tried to destroy them. I think what you found supports my theory. Abe nodded. He thought so too. But how does that help me? He asked. Sasha chewed a French fry. She swallowed it and picked up another one. She jabbed the air with the next fry as she spoke. From what I've heard about Fazbear Entertainment, animatronics, they're programmed to approximate human behavior. That suggests the Gen 1s might quite reasonably be reacting to the damage Landon potentially did. Sasha ate the pointer fry. After she swallowed, she picked up another fry. Abe stuck a fry in his own mouth. Sasha pointed her fry at Abe. I think I should spend the night at your place. Abe choked on his fry. Sasha laughed. That's not what I meant. Sasha swatted his thigh. I'm not talking romance. I'm talking research. I want to observe the Gen 1s for myself. But I told you about the padlock, Abe said. Ever since Abe had installed the padlock, he'd made it part of his morning and evening routine to check it. This morning, his heart had dropped from his chest into his feet when he found the hasp dangling from its screws, which were nearly out of their holes. Gen 1s had defeated the padlock hasp, so the padlock was useless. Yeah, I know, Sasha said. They can get out again, and they're dangerous. She gestured at his red scored arms, obviously. But I think you should let them come out, and we'll watch them. I'm trained to see the signs of acting out, and even if I wasn't, I might see something about them that you've missed because you're so freaked out." Abe frowned and opened his mouth. That's not a diss." Sasha gently patted his arm. "Honestly, I'd I'd be freaked out if in your position, too. But because you've told me about everything instead of me experiencing it myself, I think I can look at things a little more objectively than you. Whatever I might see in your apartment will be clearer to me. There's no shock factor. There's no shock factor grumming up my works." Abe thought about it. It made sense from the very first incident in his apartment. He'd been reacting he'd be reacting instead of analyzing. Since he wasn't sure how to contain the Gen 1s, now maybe studying them wasn't a bad idea, and maybe a fresh set of eyes could help. "But would it be safe? I'm not as fragile as I look," Sasha said, winking at Abe. She grinned. Her grin did nothing to ease Abe's sudden tension. "I didn't think you were," he said, "but no buts. We'll go back to your place when we're done eating." The bobbiedots were very happy that Sasha was staying the night. "Yay, a sleepover," Rose squealed. We have to have snacks. Sleepovers have many benefits," Olive said. "They are a great way to experience new things. They help build up independence, they strengthen relationships, they enhance communicational skills, and they're fun." Rose crowded. Sasha laughed. She leaned toward Abe and whispered, That list applies to kids' sleepovers, but she means well." Abe glanced at Olive. Did Olive narrow her eyes at Sasha just a little? I'll put on some music," Gemini said. "Soft rock begin playing." "How about crackers and cheese?" Rose said. "Or those little mini tacos in the freezer. Those would be good with some salsa and some—" "We just had dinner," Abe interrupted. Rose thrust out her lower lip. Why don't we all just go hang out in the bedroom?" Sasha said, "and talk." She quickly added when Abe and the bobbiedots gave her wide-eyed looks. So, guys, thanks for listening to Bobbiedots Conclusion Part 2. Tune in next time for Part 3, the final part. So, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow us on Twitter at the Funky Play Bros. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Funky Play Brothers. Support our vlog at cashapp with the $ Funky Play Brothers so we can have more unboxings, more taste tests, more adventures, more monies, and for support. Thank you for watching. Bye.